Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our seminar Wednesday. This is the so-called CASI seminar, even if it was announced as a public talk. And today we will have, I think, a group presentation. All the members of the group belong to the American University of Central Asia, and today I think will present to us the results of a study on rural women's empowerment in Kyrgyzstan, opportunities and bottlenecks. I think I will finish here, and if you ask what I am doing here, it just what happens that I'm the director of CASI.
Well, before we start, I'd like to say thank you to CASI, a particular program that is called Research Beyond the Ivory Tower, Policy and Communications Training for University Teams. It's a long name, but the purpose of it is to train and to enable professors to do research that is applicable to real-life settings and that doesn't stay within the university walls. And we're trying to do that, and it's not as simple. I'd like to introduce the team. Here we have Dr. Elena Molchanova, Department of Psychology. We have Asel Myrzabekova. Oh, here, Asel Myrzabekova, here's faculty member of Psychology Department. Olga, Yarova, it's right there, and myself and Elena. We all represent Department of Psychology. Even though we had to step outside of psychology in order to do this research, because we envisioned it as an interdisciplinary study. Maybe you can come in and sit on the window bar.
И вот здесь одно есть еще свободное место.
Here you can sit here if you don't mind being close. So, the problem that we tried to address, we started both theoretically and practically. So the largest question that we asked was about what is women's empowerment. We have heard this word for a number of times. We were even involved in some of the projects which had this name. And we learned from reading that women's empowerment as a notion is quite contested. It has been very high on the global development agenda. We know that. We know that the MDG, the Millennium Development Goal number 5, was about gender equality and women's empowerment. Now with the Sustainable Development Goal, which is a new large development agenda, we also have a separate goal for gender equality and empowerment is there as a word. There's also a cross-cutting gender empowerment goal throughout all the goals. So it is just there, and we hear about that. However, reading about empowerment, we also understand that this literature is quite fragmented. It's not, there is no consensus, we would say. Of course, we have development practitioners who are quite, who advocate for women's empowerment. There are also scholarly people who critique this as a practice. They argue that we have issues such as the universal notion that is being transplanted into different local realities, and this is already problematic. They also argue that we take a notion and we become very technocratic, we break down a very good idea, we operationalize it, we put them into actions, and these actions then become very technocratic, technological, that people are missing from there. At the same time, we see that a lot of money is being spent on this. And at the same time, we see that the situation of women who are being empowerment is not drastically changing. It's not changing proportionally to the funds and efforts being spent on this cause. So this was the beginning of our research. At the same time, we had one of our team members, Asel Myrzabekova. She had an exposure, was working as one of the consultants to one of the international organizations. And she went to a village and found out, well, she observed that there's some interesting dynamics that's going on in a specific village that must be better understood. That empowerment is not simply an action that brings benefits. There is more to it. And we wanted to find out using ethnography, pretty much bottom-up approach, in order to better understand what is that is really going on. Now let me speak a little bit about the debates that are going on. We have theoretical criticism that are pretty much within frameworks called Women in Development, which argues that women should be brought into the development projects. They should be also beneficiary of the money that is being spent. We should take women and also work with them. Whereas the God, which is gender and development, says no, you cannot do that. First, you have to transform the existing unequal gender relations before you do anything else. And so theoretical criticism here says that while women in development is pretty much technological, it is not critical, gender and development is so complex and theoretically elaborated that you cannot really put it into practice. So there is this dilemma between either what you do or you deliberate. And here we have a practical debate. We have a tendency to take some methodology which has worked somewhere else, and then you sort of scale it out. I think this is the word. You scale it out. That means you plant it everywhere else. And we call it, well, the debate is universes versus local. And here we also have what actually we conceptualized our study as addressing. So there is the need for improved understanding of women's empowerment, quote unquote, because we take it as something that needs to be understood. We also address the problem of empirically based demand for empirically based knowledge, because literature suggests that what we have as knowledge about empowerment is pretty much the reports of the international development programs, which are self-referential and which are based already on matrices and tables that are already predefined.
People who were working with these women and how they were working. So there were three international organizations: UN-FAO, UN Women, and UNWFP. So what were they doing? So UN-FAO was actually working with agricultural trainings. They were providing seeds and fertilizers to protect their pests from. And UN Women, they were facilitating social mobilization. So they were gathering these women, they were talking to these women and forming self-help groups. And WFP, they were providing assistance with packages, oil and flour, to help these women to go through the summer when they don't have actually the vegetables. And they also provided value chain development trainings, so that women would not only grow the vegetables, but would also be able to sell them and market them.
Yes, so the slide is taken from the photo of a presentation made by one of the organizations, and as we can see, the results are quite impressive. More than 1,700 vulnerable women were mobilized. They had increased agricultural production. They had improved their status. They established over 30 community funds, national conferences for their national festivals. So we can see that activity was actually happening there. Now let us move a little bit from program description to what we did, because we're trying to put on head of a scholar and move on with our analysis. In terms of methodology, we chose what we call a social constructivist approach. That means we did not have a hypothesis. We had our minds open, and our idea, even though we had some initial questions, we were not limiting ourselves with predetermined answers. In other words, we were not looking for empowerment, but we were in terms of predefined categories. We were trying to actually begin with the data, to collect the data first and then see what it tells us. So we took a case study approach. That means we took just one village, and we collected in-depth interviews, conducted ethnographic observations, and also did some text analysis. All in all, we had 30 in-depth interviews Text analysis is not going to be presented today here because it's a little bit different area. But we will be talking about our analysis of the interviews and ethnographic observations. Okay, so this is some of the photos with us taking interviews right there in the gardens. And remember, this is the area where crops typically don't grow. So we can see that something really grows. So what we found was that there are opportunities and positive outcomes from this project. And one of the greatest one is the subsistence and nutrition. We could clearly see by themselves the products, the products that actually started growing in an area where typically don't grow anything. And here we have a respondent. Again, this is all. Well, we have pseudonyms here. So she says, we used to buy everything, but this summer it's really good. We have everything for eating vegetables. But they have everything eating vegetables. Last year I grew lots of carrots, garlic, potatoes. This year I'm also growing cucumbers, tomatoes, and greeneries for salads. So apparently this is a very good benefit to the nutritional practice of the family. And here we have the same cucumbers collected in a plastic bag, and this was a gift to us. So we took it. We were very happy to take it, actually. So another woman says, we have ecologically clean vitamins. So the ecologically clean, I mean, this is what they say, which means, eco, yes. And this is a great value to them. It pleases me. Children don't get colds in winter if they eat lots of vegetables in the summer. We all eat out cucumbers, tomatoes. They all have so many vitamins. Even if there is no irrigation water, she says, and I have to bring the water in the buckets from the canal, manually, I still will grow these vegetables. So the apparent benefit from this is of significance. I apologize. I make my notes. Okay. Now the next one that we have is diversification of income. It is clear that there is more money coming to the families because the vegetables are being sold. And here we went to local bazaar, which takes place once a week, and saw some of the women we interviewed selling their produce, right there. So Aida says, this is quite a bit of money if you sell well. And if you save this money, it will make into a big amount. Last year in the winter, I sold carrots. I sold 2 tons of carrots. So she was able to produce this big amount. But what is important is that it's the money by itself, it doesn't have much value. But for many of them, a little bit of money on their own gives also some of the sense of autonomy and independence. Here is one woman says, I make my own decisions about how to spend this money. So there is this control over resources, and we call it economic empowerment. Okay. Here we also have skills that women learn. One of them is financial literacy. Because in order to participate in this project, they must be part of a self-help group, it's called. And in order to be part of the self-help group, you must be part of the processes. And one of the processes is operating a community fund. And people draw money together into a common pool, and then they take loans, and then they pay back with a little interest, and then they can use this money for something of substance, yes? So operation of community funds, taking loans and credits are only some of the skills that they acquire. So they do acquire those skills that they can then later develop. So here we have another quote. Slowly we collect money, and when we started flowing, we collected fees of 500 som, and later we kept collecting money and added 100 som each. Yes, and now we loan our money away. And it's working very well. And I think we have another quote which which shows strategic thinking about financial investments further on. So here one of the women says, we're thinking about increasing the amount of our current assets to develop our group further so that it is cohesive. We can write projects for funding together to start a good business and enterprise. We must always improve our lives and move forward. We should not stay at home and grow 4 vegetables. We must go forward. We have good opportunities. We have a highway nearby, and we can build something along the highway and sell our stuff there. We will be better financed then. So we can see a different level of financial kind of thinking developing amongst these women. And of course, in terms of the skills, we just could not miss how well they learn to grow vegetables. And this is our photo. This is our photo. Cabbage. Now, another interesting fact that we noticed is that being part of the group diversifies social life of these women, and they really like it. They really like networking and having an opportunity to socialize. So here is one woman says, how to say this? You become cheerful, you go to trainings, you socialize, you don't stay at home, your eyes open up. Here you can learn a lot, you can solve your problems here, and there are so many good things that happen. This is one of the old members, yes, talking. Okay. However, with all this good stuff that we found out, we also learned that there are limits to what was done in terms of empowerment. And here we call it time, workload, and health. To illustrate, one of the requirements for being empowered is that the plot of land should not be less than 1.10 of a hectare. 1/10 of a hectare. And if you, spatially, you don't know, that's quite a big amount of land to cultivate, yes? You have to, it's mandatory for you to attend meetings. It's mandatory of you to attend trainings. Some of them last several days for the entire day. Sometimes it's not in your village, you have to travel. And cultivating the land takes time and physical strength and energy. And also going to bazaars and selling stuff also takes energy and skills and time. So what we found is that only a selected group of women can actually afford doing all this. Women who have more than one in the household to do the cultivation, yes. Women with a more or less good status in the family, that means other family members do not oppose a woman being absent for a number of days. Yes, and a woman with a previous experience of trade are also at advantage. Sorry for this quote. It's a composite quote about one woman whom we found. She was one of the most active members of in the very beginning. Let me read this for you. So Bulchikra, she's a 42-year-old woman with 4 children, and her husband is known for having been an alcohol addict and also an abusive partner. So since she joined the project from its very beginning, she had to conceal the fact of her attending the introductory trainings and seminars from him for the fear of increased aggression. Gradually, he became more accepting of her activities and slowly joined the work in the kitchen garden. However, by this moment, much harm has been caused to her health due to years of having to take full care of children and household and endure domestic violence. So within a month of working in this project, Bulchikra started taking on additional labor in the garden. In the bazaars, she attended training sessions and all the group meetings. So she cultivated this piece of land all by herself, and she's a very tiny woman. So in October 2014, she had a stroke. When we came to the village, we interviewed her, that means 9 months after that. And she was still not well, she was still partly paralyzed, and we interviewed her while she was being given a manual treatment, and we were speaking through kind of an interpreter from Kyrgyz to Kyrgyz because she did not yet regain her speech. So Guchikra has been an exemplar member of her self-help group. She used to tell the leader of her group that since she became part of the project, she, for the first time in her life, felt a happiness of a mother who can afford buying something new for her children. To give you a little background, because they were so poor, they didn't buy new clothes, they would inherit, or someone else would give old clothes. So for her, this gave her an opportunity to feel the happiness of a mother who can actually buy something new for her child. So Guchikra is known for being very strong and extremely hardworking. And these two characteristics have often been used to explain her success. However, these same two characteristics were also used to explain her current health conditions. So what I'm reading now to you is a composite ethnographic note from our observations and from talks to her and also talks to her with her neighbors. She overworked, people said, переработала. Meaning that the amount of the work that she had to do was so overwhelming that no one with little or no, for one woman with little or no support from the family. So a year before we arrived to village, well, to tell you, yes, okay, wait. So the crop cultivation was done by her and her 11-year-old son. Together they did all the work, of which weeding, you know weeding, it's like manually taking the weed, yes. And irrigation were especially difficult, irrigation, because it's a very highly labor intensive, because it's done manually. A woman has to carry water in buckets, you know, and carry it to her gardens. So a year before we arrived, she said all her efforts paid off. Kids ate vegetables, we sold a lot in bazaar, we did not have problems with money. We bought clothes to our children and also stationery for their studies. So it was clear that she was motivated by her success and pursued, you know, even more work to continue benefiting. She would wake up at 5 a.m. or at 2 or at 3 a.m. so that she could finish the work before her younger children wake up and demand her attention. So this is Guchikra, and we can see that all of the labor behind empowerment. Yes. Another interesting finding that we found, yes, we call resistance, family subservience, and emotional work. And here I'd like to introduce Nazira by pseudonym Nazira. So Nazira is has a quite different setting than Guchikra. She has a big family. She has her husband, and she has her mother-in-law and her child living all together. But Nazira is a daughter-in-law, and they're called Gelin, and typically translated as a young woman. However, it is more than a young woman. Gelin is more than a young woman. It's a young woman, a wife of a son, who stays to live with her mother-in-law, and typically does a lot of work. So this is Nazira. So for Nazira, she had to receive permission from her family to become part of the group. And the way the permission was gained is what we call emotional work. This is what she says. I make sure that I do everything on time. I treat my mother-in-law with tea all the time. I always keep watching her mood and try not to upset her. I don't go outside anytime I want and ask for her permission for everything. So there is this work, we call it work, because it's a lot of, it's a psychological, it's social intelligence, yes, it's a lot of emotional work and a lot of sacrifice that she has to do within her family in order to continue. And she continues, this one continues very well. She's one of the youngest members of the group, and she is one of the leaders already. But in order to continue, she has to do, all of this. So we treat Nazira's case as a story of resistance to cultural norms which endorse young women staying at home in the private sphere of home. So on the level of her own individual household, she was able to break through her expected binding to the realm of her house and to take up a role of an active, socially active and even politically active member of a society. She was also able to involve her husband, and she is much more advantaged than our previous respondent. But we also see that she tries to maintain her level of mobility and freedom within within the patriarchal order in which her family operates. So even though she resists it, she does it bounded by the larger system of patriarchy that is dominant in her family. So we see that even though we see the resistance here, it is still quite limited. Now, another interesting finding was related to a specific part of this village. Asel, yes, I would like Asel to back me up on this.
So we should maybe talk firstly about historical background of this village. So before it consisted of 3 brigades which were competing, and one of the brigades was really far from the 2, and they were the ones who were competing and separating. But they were also having really close relationship within this community. So they were more as a group, they had a strong identity. And it appeared that through this post-Soviet time they became more religious also, because they were also close relationships. And they had more restrictions to being a member of this self-help groups, because they, as we mentioned, had to do this loan system or operate with community funds. And in order to be resistant to this new coming program, they were saying and referring to Quran, saying that loan is haram. So it is against the Quran, and our women shouldn't be in these groups. So let's just say that community loans is bad, and our women shouldn't be in this self. So there were several groups which actually left the whole program because of these narratives, religious discourse narratives.
So this automatically excluded a part of the village which is known yes, for being more traditional, and we could visually even see the women, the more covered women walking in that part of the village, which is a pity because exactly this part of the village was located in the most advantageous way in terms of water availability, because we were not on the tail end of the village, but pretty much the water, so they could have done it very successfully if the rules were not that rigid, or if they could argue with their husbands about Quran and haram. So in conclusions, we want to say that empowerment, as we saw in practice, is pretty much selective. It selects those categories and those individuals with which work is easier. And we argue that there is a risk that the poorest women will still be left behind. So we talked to women living in what is called sarai, which is the place not in the village, but a little bit further, but not jailos, somewhere in between the village and jailos. So typically these are poor households, and they were not even considered here because for them being part of the project would mean. And we talked to a granny. Yes, she was an older woman whose children were not living with her, and she was with her grandchildren. So it's a mother, elderly woman, grandmother with grandchildren. So for her, this is quite impossible. Traveling back and forth requires money, being away from little kids also is impossible. Cultivating the tens of hectares is also quite a lot of work. Now, we have conclusions about empowerment here, that one is the conceptualization of empowerment we find a bit problematic. We found it problematic because the way it looks at women is pretty much in a homogenizing manner. They look at women as one entity without considering differences. There will be older women, there will be younger women, and we saw that older women are at a disadvantage. And older women can also be at a disadvantage because of the hard manual work required. The women who are more poorer, and the women who are better off. Women living in the village and women living in sarais. So this kind of intersectionality of variables was not taken into account. And as a result, we have a selective process in which not everyone can participate, and not everyone means the most marginalized. Now, empowerment as something operationalized, we see, is a bit contradictory. And there is a risk that such a practice can actually even widen the divide between the very poor and not so poor. Yes. And all of this, we believe, have a risk of exacerbating, making the gaps even larger, taken into account that the sustainability of the project is in question. So far, the participants were given seeds and fertilizers and trainings pretty much for free. Yes. But this is not going to last forever, and once this is done, we don't know, yes, what can happen. And And we also believe that all this may even become worse because of the climate change and water availability decreasing. We have observed a fight for 2 days of a small woman planting raspberries with water, tell me. Water association, yes? Water user association man. Yes, she was actually going to fight because he was not given her water because he didn't have water, etc. So water is a problem, and of course those who are more privileged will have better access to water. Couple of last slides, promise. So, empowerment, we believe, on the basis of our research, is a powerful practice that is based on specific conceptual apparatus. And it works on the level, it has worked on the level of technological aspects. They did get agricultural skills, they did get inputs such as seeds and fertilizers and trainings, and they did gain financial literacy and crop planting skills. However, with all of this, we tend to see them as rather short-term, exactly because of the grant nature of this part. And then, in terms of political part of empowerment, such as women's participation, women's leadership, and creating an environment in which gender-responsive planning and budgeting is there, we pretty much see that this got undermined, exactly because of problematic conceptualization and operationalization of empowerment. Yes, this was our last slide. Thank you. The floor is the ones.
The floor is open for comments, questions, critiques.
Yes, if you could tell us how to improve.
And maybe if Elena wants it, before asking or doing whatsoever, just shortly introduce yourself, because I don't know who I am. Would you like to know?
I would really
Yeah. Yeah, and I will also sort of kindly ask you to have short and meaningful questions. Yes, please.
Извините, Кирилл. Можно, да? Я на русском скажу, наверное, для многих будет понятно, да? Значит, спасибо большое, такая вот презентация. Извините, меня зовут Асел. Я являюсь специалистом по развитию сообществ, как раз вот этой вот программы, в рамках которого было проведено исследование в селе Байзак. Программа называется «Расширение экономических прав и возможностей сельских женщин в Кыргызстане». Реализуется 4 партнерами, агентствами ООН, это ООН женщины, ФАО, ВПП и ФАТ. И, как вы уже заметили, значит, ООН женщина была ответственна за мобилизацию вот этих бедных и уязвимых семей, женщин, и вовлечение их в экономическую деятельность. И остальные агентства, в зависимости от своего, значит, скажем, мандата, они давали сельскохозяйственные там культурно-овощные обучения, тренинги, цепочка добавленной стоимости и так далее. Вот что я хотела сказать. Вы правильно заметили о том, что расширение возможностей женщин это не означает всего лишь предоставление ей какие-то экономические возможности. О том, о чем мы говорили, что там, да, у нее некоторая экономическая независимость появилась, да, у нее какие-то навыки хорошие появились для того, чтобы получать определенный доход и так далее, да, процесс социализации некоторый произошел, она вовлекается в группу взаимопомощи, в процесс управления, там получает определенные какие-то знания, навыки по финансовой независимости, ведению учета и так далее. Да, это очень хорошо. Но если вы правильно заметили, что если у нее нет способности и возможности управлять вот этими полученными деньгами, экономической ее возможностью дальше управлять, то есть распределять или принимать решение, куда эти деньги направлять, то ли на общесемейные, то ли еще какие-то специфические нужды своей женщины, если она не будет у нее способности принимать решения, то, конечно, о какой говорить речь о возможности, о ее расширении возможностей, конечно, нет. Поэтому это первый год, это у нас это output один был, что ее предоставление таких возможностей экономических, и у нас второй output есть, где мы говорим о том, чтобы активизация женщин. И сейчас у нас в этом году, в 2015 году начался, и он дальше продолжается, значит, как раз ее активизация этих женщин, участие ее в местном планировании и бюджетировании, там для того, чтобы когда местные органы власти планируют или там разрабатывают стратегию развития региона или аймуту или села, то обязательно учитывались и голос женщины был, учитывались ее специфические нужды, доступ к услугам, доступ там на уровень принятия решения. То есть этот процесс мы уже начали, можно делать дальше, еще в этом же селе я предлагаю сделать дальше исследование через, например, и в этом году летом или на следующий год посмотреть ситуацию с этой точки зрения тоже. Да, вы правы в плане того, что это, да, активизация, доступ ее на уровень принятия решений на данном этапе пока не было. Сейчас продолжается, вы правы в этом плане. Так что спасибо большое за интересный материал, так скажем.
Спасибо. Лучше вопросы, чем аплодисменты. Давай.
Is it possible to get a short summary in English?
Yes, sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For us who doesn't speak.
Yes, so here we had a question from Asel, who's representing a few women here, directly in the project that we studied, and she agrees with our findings. in saying that, yes, political part of it, mobilization part of it is still yet to come next year, and she's inviting us to continue the work. Sorry.
Please, I hope it's a question, because we will not translate it into French now.
Yes, guys.
Go ahead.
Thank you for Professor for the presentations. So I want to ask about the sustainability of this common project. Like in my country, we have a lot of projects for the empowerment of women women. Because the main problem with the women is like we have inequality between men and women, gender inequality, and also the wage gaps. So all of these things we can overcome with all of these problems only when we empower women financially and politically empower women. So this kind of a lot of projects taken in different countries, but the main problem is the sustainability of these projects. When this project is finishing, in the duration of this project, they are financially supporting the women to come in, the training, attend the trainings, and do whatever these people demand from them. But whenever this project is coming to the end, so maybe they will leave again and they will go back to the post. So what kind of problems, what kind of programs or projects we can take it in order to make more sustainable this kind of projects to empower women?
Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Rehan. I'm a junior student from economics department.
And you from?
Which
You say in your
I'm
country?
from Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Thank you for your question. A good scholar says, I don't know. Yes, if the good scholar doesn't know, the scholar says, I don't know. It's a big question. I think it's a very important question, and I think we touched a little bit upon that. The sustainability is at issue. It's all good if everything is given. Yes, but once this giving hand is not there, what happens? We don't know, and we'd like to research that. I'd like to give you an answer, but in our research, we didn't find solutions. We actually even didn't look into sustainability because the project is still ongoing. But I believe that skills and networks is something that is sustainable, is something that will stay with you even if the giving hand is not there. Knowledge and methodology that people get, it will stay with them. And if they learn how to use these resources, if they learn how to make resources, and they can give this information, transfer this information to younger or to older, then it becomes sustainable. And I think sustainability is going to be there once people see that there is a real outcome. Sorry for not answering.
And can I add some more detail to this question?
Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah,
please?
Farida, ICP junior from Afghanistan. So I think that to make a project successful and sustainable, first we have to teach those women the importance of sustainability. What does it mean? And second, we have to make sure that men are equally involved in the project as women are, because they do not have support of their husbands or their father or brother, whatever. That's why when the project comes to the end, so they will leave. Once you have the support of those like male partner in the family, I think they will come, they will help you, and they will work with you. So I think it will work a lot.
Thank you for comment. I think there is some sense in this. It will work if there are, first of all, if there are men, if they have not migrated to Russia for labor migration. And typically the tendency is if both women and men become involved in one project and there is more money involved, women tend to be taken aside, pushed aside, little by little. So I think yes, but careful.
Можно немножко дополнение сделать к вашему ответу? Да?
У меня есть вопрос.
К тому вопросу, который дали, почему вот одни женщины, мужчины не задействованы в этом процессе. И плюс еще я хотела дополнить, немножечко дать разъяснение по поводу того, что устойчивость этого проекта дальше, насколько она для людей, которые задействованы в этом проекте, где их интересы, вообще, если проект завершится, то деньги не бесконечны, то дальше что они будут делать? Значит, первое, вообще, когда этот проект задумывался у нас в Кыргызстане, это одна из таких попыток, что ли, дать возможность доступа женщин, к ресурсам мы говорим. Да, у нас, как только проект или любое дело начинается, то женщины вроде бы участвуют, но их и не видно. Особенно на уровень принятия решений, что посеять, когда посеять, куда что отправить, какие денежки и так далее. Вот это у нас обычно с молчаливого согласия женщин остается у мужчин. И поэтому этот проект изначально был задуман таким образом, чтобы вовлечь именно женщин, понимаете, вот почувствовать. Вот они там, например, в группе взаимопомощи, они там вот обучаются, как управлять этой группой, да, что такое лидер, там, секретарь, казначей, какие функциональные обязанности, каждый должен побывать лидером, там, принять на себя ответственность, что такое лидер и так далее. Вот такие вот моменты. Поэтому вот изначально задумывалась, и мы перед проектом, там, как один из результатов, что участники женщины, поэтому мы и работали с женщинами, дали им такую возможность. Теперь второй момент вот, насчет устойчивости. Значит, вот группы взаимопомощи во время проектной деятельности получают от проекта семена бесплатные, тренинги, обучение бесплатные и так далее, да? Вот, то есть техническая помощь вся идет бесплатно. Но в рамках проекта мы как бы согласовали со всеми участниками, и они согласны. Вот с полученного урожая осенью они собирают стоимость, например, семян обратно, вот они называют сельский фонд, свой револьверный оборотный фонд. Вот там, например, в Джунгале, сейчас вы, извините, вот Байзаки, у них вот в этом сельском фонде в прошлом году на 1 декабря, скажем, где-то около 600 тысяч сомов собственных средств есть. Вот этой вот сообщество, вот там 70 человек, там 50 человек и так далее. То есть револьверный фонд. И вот они сейчас, пока они неформальные, они зарегистрированы на уровне АЮКМТ на основе закона о диаматах. У нас есть в Кыргызстане есть возможность такая, на уровне АЮКМТ регистрируются. Пока они юридически такой вот официальный статус не имеют, но пока они учатся управлять этими деньгами. То есть это возвратные деньги, и вот потом период, там кто-то захочет малый бизнес какой-то открыть, да, первичный вот беспроцентная ссуда, скажем, такая. Вот они могут иметь возможность бизнес-план твой большой записали, написали, защитились там и так далее. Вот такие вот вещи отрабатывают. Мы это, конечно, сейчас с помощью проекта эти учатся управлять и так далее. То есть это на будущее для того, чтобы у них была определенная независимость, скажем, устойчивость. Финансы некоторые есть, навыки есть определенные, и дальше уже думать со временем уже развиваться и приобретать юридический статус.
Спасибо.
То есть пытаемся сделать какие-то в условиях Кыргызстана какие-то вот вещи для того, чтобы добиться определенной устойчивости.
Спасибо вам за объяснение, пояснение, дополнение. Вопрос?
Еще у кого-то, может быть,
Here,
есть.
I'm sorry, I started speaking in Russian.
Yeah.
So we have
You go
questions
first
from-
then.
Okay. I'm Sarah Blaskovich from NGA from Canada. You started your presentation by saying you question the meaning of empowerment, but then here in your conclusion you still use the word empowerment. Did you find then in the process of your research that it's a valuable term to use? Why did you decide to continue using this term?
Well, thank you for your question. So the goal for us was not to take this term for granted, look at it critically, and not only to criticize it, analyze it, but to actually go and see what it means in practice, what practices are involved so that a woman becomes empowered, and what does it mean for her as she is enforced some empowerment on her. So this is why I'm using the same word. This is what we found about empowerment as practice, that it is problematic, contradictory, maybe positive on the level of technological, but a bit risky in the long term. So yes, we are using it in the end because we started with the question what it is.
Right.
Yes, and then we sort of hoped that we have unfolded it a little bit.
Yeah.
But of course, there is more work to be done. There is more work to be done in relation to what actually guided these international organizations in doing empowerment in this particular way. So there is a way to go forward and seeing where is this conceptual home, institution, of this conceptual practice.
Can I jump in with a short question because it's related?
Sorry, my team members, I took all the floor. If you want to say you're wrong.
No, just a comment, if you please. Actually, so what is going on right here so is a very good example of that the perception itself is constructed, and moreover, so I have a particular example during my classes, so introductory psychology classes. So the presentation itself was not about the benevolence of the project, it's quite obvious, but any implementation of money, and moreover, so using any concept as a universal thing, like as empowerment, without actually deep thinking and without so this bottom-up approach, would lead to more diversification. So actually, so the poorest women, so in this village, so are now more poor, so and those actually so probably so also needed empowerment, but now they are getting so better. So and the gap between so those two groups so is even more. So is it good or is it bad? So this is a question. So this is not about sustainability of the project, because actually so this is obvious, and this is not about so how good actually so job UN Women is also done. So because again, so this is obvious, but this particular case might be taken as a fractal of as a part of all the processes which is happening here. So in the sphere of Kyrgyzstan, when one particular concept or one particular process so is taken so from the context and is implemented here, so without thinking deeply. So and without thinking so about the consequences, and not only so good consequences, but also some shortcomings of this stuff. Sorry.
What I'm interested to know is this empowerment as a concept, and let's say as a bunch of practices that are more or less consensually considered as serving empowerment. Is it something that is applied only to women, or are there programs, or is there any discussions about the empowerment of men? And then my second question then will be, are the practices different? I mean, when we think of empowering women, is it that developers or international organizations think about it in a way that is radically different from empowering any other category in society?
So empowerment itself was not a gender concept in the very beginning, according to our literature review. Yes, so this was a practice, this was sort of a response to a critique that programs and practitioners, in fact, are not listening to the voices of the local people on whose behalf they're working. So in response to this critique, they've developed this notion of empowerment that means giving people choices, giving people voices, and giving people spaces. So this was totally not gendered, yes. And then certain international organizations took it up, but differently. What is distinguished is the UNDP approach to empowerment, some other CARE approach to empowerment. There is also DFID approach to empowerment, yes, which is believed to be one of the most progressive. People like it, exactly for its multi-dimensional approach. It not only measures economic growth, but other areas of poverty. What we tried not to be limited by theoretical conceptualizations of empowerment. We didn't want to find a theoretical concept in our data. We wanted to go there open and see how it is in reality. But we were informed by empowerment notion by Naila Kabir. She's from the camp of Development as Freedom, Amartya Sen. Yes. Actually, she she was the one who brought in gender into environment. But yes, environment term is used for any marginalized group that needs support or needs growth and needs choices and control.
Because just a short thing here, because I made this observation that following the implementation of this project and attempts to empower women, there is a sort of a growing gap in the village and sort of the situation has deteriorated. For me personally, it's both meaningful, but it's also very naive. I mean, any attempt to empower or to give power, there are these contradictory strategies of included and excluded. And I mean, in this sense, an empowerment, a project on empowerment will work exactly in the same way if it was started in men.
Yes.
And I think in some ways, I mean, I'm a feminist and I hate men, but I think of them from time to time. I mean, the consequences would be exactly the same for men.
Well, we don't. You see, we wanted to study women exactly because we study women. Yes. Well, men will be studied by somebody else. So we don't know. We don't know whether this will be the same or not. This has to be studied.
I can add about men. So there was one man who participated in this self-help course, but actually he exploited his wife in this project. His name was in the project. He was getting the seeds, but his wife was mostly working in the kitchen garden. And during the interview, he would even say, "My slave is what."
It's about the environment of men, actually.
So we don't know. We can generalize
This is
on
not your
this one
question.
case, but
That's to your suggestion.
Thank you. Я даже не знаю, на каком языке комментировать или что.
I think English is
Yeah. So my question is also whether it's known the backgrounds of the women who participate in the project. I also didn't quite catch how many participated in the village. But do we know like their education levels? Do we know like, because we assume they're disempowered, yeah? But you say that usually the better off participate, the ones who are advantaged in many ways are able to, you know, take part in this project. So it looks like the women who do benefit from it are already empowered in some ways, yeah? So and it looks like the assumption of the program is that they're all idiots in a way, yeah? I mean, like they have no skills, like they don't know how to manage their finances.
Yes. It's 83 women, total number. We studied some project materials. But yes, you're right, this is what I was telling in the last part about the homogenization, you know, like this homogenizing view of the women without characteristics, yes? As if it's a one global, sorry, not global, but big one woman, same everywhere, with same characteristics. And of course, in reality, that's not the case. But I think from the project perspective, all the population was viewed as disadvantaged exactly because the village is quite distant. It's even hard to get transportation there. It's much more expensive than going, say, to Norin itself, yes. Because of its harsh climatic conditions and because it was pretty much ignored by international organizations. So I think the vision of the project onto this particular village was that everyone is there, is disadvantaged pretty much. Yes. We did not take any demographic characteristics from our informants because we do believe this kind of underlines the power relations between the researcher and the informant. So how old are you, what's your education level? So we're not pretty much interested. As long as they took part in this research or failed to take part or took part and then withdrew, this was for us and what was important.
Yeah, to me, I just imagine kind of a life story of maybe a school teacher, yeah, who is already educated and then kind of has a position of power in the community, yeah?
Pretty much advantaged already.
Yeah,
Yes.
but then she starts this, farming activities and
In addition to everything else
Yeah.
she does, yes.
exactly. So, that is a very
Yes,
also.
the choices, selection of women in the very beginning of the project was also problematic because people didn't understand what that was about. So they had to be explained, and they, didn't believe that this was actually happening. So the AUCA people had to find through their own connections some active women. We need active women, and of course, active women are active women. So they are already having some status and some resources and some, experience already. So they are already different than the rest. So the selection in the very beginning was quite a haphazard process, and this may have ended up having.
That is a very, very ripe question now, right? Because he's been thinking about his question in minutes. And I do invite some of the other people present.
It's a long introduction to your question. Now the question.
Yeah, so actually I would like to thank you for the very interesting project and very interesting stories that you have collected, and particularly they illustrate nicely this whole criticism of the term empowerment, but how can you think of a card stroke, being the result of this project as an empowerment? The project has ruined a woman's life in some ways. But my sort of commentary is in regards to, it will be a bit critical.
So I'm going to write it down then.
Yeah, no, it will be very easy to remember. You know how in the introduction you have criticized this universalist approach, where the models from outside are applied to the local context without taking into consideration the local cultural uniqueness. And so when you started describing these Muslim families who refused to take part in this project, I was expecting you to say that this UN Women project has failed to take into consideration this local cultural uniqueness and somehow adjust the project. But you didn't say that. Instead, you said that it was a pity, right, that these women did not participate, and therefore the land was not.
I know what you're talking
the land
about.
did not produce
Yes,
the successful result.
As I finished the sentence myself, I realized, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Yes. So for those of you who follow this question, when I said, so there is this group of women living in a very advantaged place of the village, and it's a pity they didn't make it. Yes, because
you sounded very universalist.
Yes. I agree.
And then also just one small comment is that when you replied, when you said it was their husbands who actually forbade them to take part in the project, it's also a big assumption, because if a Muslim if the woman is a believer, she makes the decision for herself. She doesn't have to always rely on the decision of the husband. It might be just as strong of her own decision than rather than the decision. Just a small point.
Yes, it may be not purely the decision of her husband that sort of took her away.
Yeah, because this is a part of the, but in Islamic practice, yes, taking loan is haram. And,
Making money on money, yes? Making money of money, yes?
Yeah, taking loan, taking credit.
Taking credit, and also giving credit as far as
Yeah, and giving credit. And so, why do you think that men think that this is haram and Muslim women think it is not haram?
Well, I think the narrative there was that it's the men who are believed to be the carriers of the Muslim knowledge. They know what to do and what not to do, and they would, from their words, they don't, yes, even if they're not believers themselves, they don't want to oppose what their husbands say.
This is a very disempowering perspective.
But this, we couldn't really research it deeper because of the access to the families. We were not really,
So you shouldn't have assumed that this was bad.
Well, we didn't assume that. This is what they told us. Yes. The women. In fact, we try to stay away from assumptions as far as possible.
Okay, now it's clear.
Yes.
Okay, some more questions?
I just wanted to ask a short question, keeping in mind the question asked by Madam Mohira and Professor Amit, that when we look at this kind of situations, it is very complicated situations and like an onion, and it is very difficult to, which layer to peel first, because it is religiously embedded and culturally relative approach or universal approach should be taken. So a kind of rhetorical question is that, is there any solution of women empowerment which is not educating the women and not providing them some kind of financial aid, something else?
This is the next stage of our endeavor. I don't know the answer to this. We are researchers and we research what is already happening, but we don't know the answers to this.
Sorry, of the means of production.
I don't know the answer. Maybe people around have suggestions. The idea was to identify what's working and what was not working from the perspective of the woman. Because if we speak about from the perspective of the program what worked and what didn't work, it's a much different picture than what you ask from the women themselves. And this was our goal. But we didn't go that far.
Okay, wow. 3 questions. So
no, I have an answer to this question, may I?
You have an answer?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
I write that down.
It's rhetoric. I mean, this concept of empowerment is, of course, very interesting, and when you look at it from the development perspective. But as we know, the power is not given; the power is taken. Yeah. So it's only you who can empower yourself. It's not a development organization. It's not someone who comes. So that's the answer. When women take the power, then they are empowered. Unless they are given the power by UNDP or UN or through the seats, that's not something that will empower women. So I think that's somehow an answer. Unless you empower yourself. Power is not something, if we talk about the concept of power, it's not something that people are willing to share. Yeah? If I have a power, I'm not going to share it by my own will. Yeah? So if man or any kind of political political party or political entity holds the power and then leaves other people under this power, yeah, not empowered, so you only have to take it.
But I think that the capacity to take power is not equal amongst all people. I think
power can never be equally shared among all people.
Yes, but I think the taking of power can be, you can have systemic challenges to how much power you can take as a woman, as a poor woman, as a rural woman.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because I think that what also I probably was left behind, what is this sort of, if the project that you reviewed has to respond to the challenges of inequality, yeah?
That's the project.
That's the project goal, yeah? So if the project has to respond to the inequality issue, yeah? So then what is the mechanism of inequality production? So why these poor people are poor? Yeah, what makes them poor? So then when we empower, so because what you came to conclude, that basically it empowers those who are already somehow empowered.
Right.
And then it can contribute to the inequality gap. It means that the project basically doesn't respond to the issue of inequality, right? So it doesn't vanish the conditions that lead to the inequality, but rather, as you said, exacerbate them.
Well, I think they were trying to, I'm not an advocate.
Yeah.
But I think there is a position there as well, is that they want to treat inequality by reducing poverty in this village.
But they
not
actually
within the
increase.
village. But not within the village. They didn't look into inequalities within the village.
I
national
that's-
inequality.
Okay.
So village to village.
Village to village. Okay.
Yes, I have a short question and comment. Do we need to empower women in Kyrgyzstan, like in the way that you discussed representation or most of the international organizations put it in their agenda, so they should work more, they should earn more. I think it's not such a big problem in Kyrgyzstan. When they work, they earn more or less, but as your coach Asel mentioned in her example, and in this kind of empowerment, I think women become like more slaves for their husbands or for their mother-in-laws, and maybe we should empower women in Kyrgyzstan not in this way, that they should work more, but also do emotional work. That they should do emotional work to please their grandmother and their husband. But maybe we should empower them, saying that you don't have to do this emotional work.
Exactly.
That you don't have to stay with your alcoholic husbands and do all the work and just you should live, or like you should you can live by yourself and more happily. I think we should do this kind of empowerment.
Well, I'm very glad that you came to this conclusion from our research findings, because we don't know where to move from. Well, I don't know. Maybe you girls know how to, where to move from there, because a lot would be to formulate recommendations. But I don't think I'm in a good position to formulate recommendations. I'm a researcher. I'm not a policymaker. So,
So I think that's a sound policy suggestion is not adding more work on top of what women are already doing, So many women have two shifts, that they are in gainful employment and they have the reproductive work they do, and then they have to do another job on top of that. But actually let them work less, So,
so maybe this is the empowerment, this is the support.
So they don't have to.
But when this
Maybe,
case empowerment is close to well-being, or how we call it. And so the concept in its way is quite correct in my mind, because everywhere where there is power, there is violence, there is efforts, there is contestation, while what the movie describes, it's an entirely different project. It will be a project focused not on the empowerment of women, but on their well-being, or welfare, or happiness.
Gender and development.
And sort of happiness and power.
First, transform the gender order, this oppressive gender order, before you do anything else. So it's very transformative in nature. That's why it's difficult, much more difficult than technological.
This project, it's not important to be a good daughter-in-law for your mother-in-law, that she should anyway keep the family despite of all the problems with your alcoholic husband, like emotional abuser. It's okay to be divorced and to be independent.
Well, I think it's a very different level.
I think that most NGOs who run empowerment or work with gender inequality and violence against women, like domestic violence, they are using mostly the advocacy mechanisms and methods which are not on value level. They are not working on transforming values, changing values, cultural or traditional and other. But they're working on on this level, which is technological, to accept some laws or to gain some quotas in parliament or to prohibit models to register decay, etc. All this operational level, not on value and
not conceptual.
Conceptual on transforming values and thinking and perceptions and attitudes. If they go to this level, cultural change, when it happens, then self-empowerment of women and other things will be after operational.
I love the comments that guys that you have. Sorry, my name is Olga. I'm also from the technology department. This is great ideas. Change the values, change the behavior, not to be slaves, not to listen to mother-in-law. But you know, this research showed one more time that gender roles, gender expectations are not so easy to change. They're so rigid, they're so strong. I mean, you start earning money, you get additional work, you become more empowered, you get more money to spend on your kids, etc., etc. But it is just added to your kids, and you have to get up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and you have to do more work. But there is what the choice a woman has. If she tells that, okay, I'm not obeying my mother-in-law, I'm not listening to my husband, then she has another choice, just to break the family, to leave the family, yeah, and that's probably not the solution, because, yeah, and it takes will take a lot of time to change those goals, and to change those expectations, and to change those values. This is not that easy, even with such projects.
But I think that the question was that these issues are not even addressed in the projects like this. So that's not that it is obvious that it's very difficult. It is, but the thing is, if I got your comment right, when these projects are being implemented and when they're being designed, this cultural or value level is not even being considered. So basically, what you found, that the burden on women increases, that basically it doesn't work as it is imagined, is probably also because this cultural or value empowerment is not included. So what do you discuss? Basically, this is how women should be more efficient in terms of producing money. So she has to be a house slave. She has to work for her mother-in-law. She has to work as a wife, as a mother, and then how else she can be more efficient to work in this kitchen garden, sell on the market, go use the accounting. So basically, the political aspect actually, of empowerment is not being addressed on the initial level. And that's my question, for not to respond maybe now, but does it play a role in the effects that are then presented in your research? That this idea of changing the values, like, do this self-help group discuss these issues? Like, is there any sort of psychological services or help? What does it mean for women to take these additional responsibilities, to face these challenges from the family, from the society? Is there any sort of component included in the project that women, except of seats and accounting books, do they also have access to the psychology services? Is there any sort of feminist?
Probably they don't have any kindergartens if she has to take care for all kids. So there is no infrastructure to support women, right?
What you're talking about?
So, my point is actually to simply formulate it, that the fact that this cultural level, the cultural empowerment or value empowerment, is not even being considered in this project, leads to the effects that you then presented as the shortcomings of this empowerment.
Some of the programs and activities are at odds with what is already happening, and the larger conclusion then is that the program results are produced at the cost of the women's time, labor, and health, and everything else. So we already have some processes happening in the village in terms of gender order and patriarchy, and the project comes and sort of tops it up without considering the underlying processes that may be contradictory to the incoming interventions. I don't know the order in which we are.
I also lost it.
Please.
Okay, well, I have a couple observations. The first is this is a project with a very limited scope, I think. So the fact that it was, a poor village, that they were able to produce more food, better food, I mean, that's a goal in itself that was satisfactory. The fact that the woman had a stroke, she could have had a stroke any time. I mean, you can't really make a correlation. Because, that's just sort of an act of God. So I think if you look at that at a much more basic level, I think the project is successful. Speaking about women's empowerment, I think in the United States, the way that things changed was really through the education system. Was being implemented by laws about how girls were treated in school and what would be taught, very programmatic, and that's what made society change. It wasn't done at a theoretical level so much, it was done right within the public school system. And that's just an observation that I'm putting out.
Okay, my name is Camila. I'm from the ICT department. I have a question. Maybe you can answer, or it's not related to the presentation. But my question is that if the power and the rights of women are taken by men, then during your research, did you find any project or programs that make men realize the position of women and count them as human and share those rights and power within women? In other words, I'm saying that is it possible that women be empowered just by focusing on women, but not educating men in terms of women's rights and other programs?
I think you have some more time to think about this question. Okay, I think, yes, it's my short question, and how long do you plan to continue this project?
Oh, we don't do the project. We research. We research women.
This research.
It's done. We're writing up the analytics, so we're taking all the contributions now to make the analysis better. So we're trying to publish it. Yes.
And there was an invitation for you to continue assessing the outcomes of the project.
I think Asel just said that they would like that.
A very short question, no remark whatsoever.
Short question from Professor. There are many examples, but I met with a particular lady. She's a Kyrgyz, and after the marriage she did her PhD and this stuff, and she was working in the UN. And she said that I was traveling once in a month. And when my husband saw that I am too much empowered, he said that Rastit gaya hunna hai, okay, just go, and he divorced him with two of his sons. And my question is that did you see that family empowerment, family as an institution in which women has a role versus women empowerment? That if you go to a family and say that we are going to help this family, you say to the husband that we are going to educate or train or giving money because you have this woman in your home. I think that the values will also be aspect will also be covered, and the woman will get empowerment as family as a whole will also be empowered. So did you see this, that family as an institution and family empowerment versus only this woman empowerment, so that we don't have these values kind of problems?
I don't think we saw that. Because I'm trying to answer the questions from the data that we have. I don't think we saw that. I don't think I have a good comparative answer to you. One exception is what Asel was already talking about when we did asymmetrical power relations between women and men within one family didn't change, even though both of them participated in the project. I can't really tell you.
So you consider unfortunate that this weak man, seeing his woman empowered, decided to divorce.
Yes, this is what we
I mean, sometimes breaking from the abusive family is advantage. Yes.
For a woman.
Yeah, there's an assumption here. It seems that family is good, and that there's like a harmonious relationship within it, and then
keeping in
coherence
mind
of interest.
values of this.
But family is often the place of conflict, and that is exactly the root of the problem, right? That is yeah. What is it?
Breakup.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
We
I
will
think
stop
like
here.
children are the only ones left in the
Let us
school.
once again